so much.
Good.
All
Thanks
of you,
for
by
having
the
me.
way, for doing this. You're wonderful. I appreciate you all.
Of course. I'm still at work.
Of course you are. Are you ever not at work?
No. No. Hello to everyone.
Hello.
So kind of just to introduce you guys to each other. I don't know if you, do you remember the show Ghost Whisperer?
You're all too young.
I remember Ghost Whisperer.
I remember Ghost Whisperer.
So that was
too.
John's show, by the way.
Oh, so cool.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for spooking the heck out of me many, many times. Appreciate you, I think.
I think. Blair is a stunt professional living now in LA. And they also have done a lot of acting, also musician, just uber talented.
Nice.
And Ruthie is a hair and makeup artist and grooming artist. And my favorite group she works with is the Stranger Things crowd, because I'm kind of addicted to this show, but also tons of other people.
Show.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I do the press. I don't work on the show.
No, but just,
yeah,
that is an affiliation with something major. So kudos. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Brian has done music videos and commercials that I can't even start to name. Nike, there's cars in there. I'm trying to remember the lineup. Also the music videos, there's that Steve Martin one is my favorite, but you've also done so many others. Do you want to introduce yourself to the group a little?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I direct music videos and commercials and passion projects and short films and everything like that. But yeah, my focus is commercials. Recently, my most recent project was a spot for BMW, which was really big for me.
I knew there were cars in there.
Trying to build off that. But yeah, happy to be here.
Awesome.
And Makiba is a documentarian at the U.S. federal courts, and it has also been doing films for forever. I feel like
it feels like forever. I've been doing it, I'll say professionally, for like 5 years.
You look super young.
Partially because I'm 26 still, so that's why I look like this.
Yeah, that's young.
I love that. I remember being at a club. I was like 28, and some guy came up to me. He was like, we were dancing, and he was like, "Oh, how old are you?" And I said 28. And he goes, "Oh, you look good." And I was like, "Yeah, because I'm 28." Like,
oh my
god! Like that. Yeah, that's what 28s look like.
Wow. Oh gosh.
And I was like, really? That's a thought people have, that 28 is too old? Like, wow, okay.
I was at a film festival once. One of my short films is playing, and I'm standing there in the lobby waiting for a block to start. And there's this young guy who's got a lanyard, like he's part of the festival. He's looking at me, and finally he goes, "Excuse me, are you like an actor or something in one of the films?" I said, "No, I'm a filmmaker." And I swear, he looks me up and down, and he goes, "Man, you're a veteran filmmaker."
Wow.
It's just people. Yeah, I don't know. People just say the darndest things, if you will.
Oh wow.
That's true.
Okay. Well.
Wow. What did he hope to gain from that? What would be the?
I took it as just a very guileless thing. It was just because everybody there was so young. Most
right.
short films are very young. And I just think he was kind of like amazed that this old guy was there with a film.
Wow.
Oh dear.
I don't think he meant any harm.
Yeah. That's still, it's like rude.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought.
Just need a sign, like just rude, flash a rude sign every so often. It's so rude.
It was very funny. He laughed. He was just kind of a little good.
Oh, good.
We work with a number of high schools in the area. So, and I was talking to some of the teachers, and they were saying, it's been hard kind of getting people to come in and do career days like we usually do. And so this kind of grew out of that discussion. So, we work with High School of Art and Design. We work with Bryant High School. We work with International High School of Health Sciences at Queens. which has a very strong, like most majority immigrant population. So definitely, just trying to kind of, I don't know, bring the career day to them, if you will.
Yeah.
That's really good. We've been having these types of discussions here at work. Right now I'm on a show that's pretty diverse, but it's a Black show mainly, and Latino, and just the sometimes the lack of diversity that we have within the crew.
Absolutely.
And this was not a career choice at all for me. So it's interesting how it's developing, and the reason why I wanted to do this was to see, I always talk to people, to kids in my neighborhood or from church.
Yep.
Just there's so much more than what sometimes we're told, especially as kids from immigrant families, like be a doctor or a lawyer, when there's so much more.
Well, honestly, that's all they really know. Like, if I think back, like I grew up in a working class immigrant family, and like I was saying this in the last panel, like I got a job at Nickelodeon, and my family was like, the diner on Steinway, because there was a Nickelodeon diner on Steinway Street at the time in the 90s. And I was like, no, it's a cable, but like they didn't have cable, they were too poor. So I was like, it's a cable television channel for children. And they were like, oh, like they still weren't excited. They were like, I just don't understand what you're doing, because they just have no concept of what is out there, and neither did I. And hence why I do this, and that's, because if I had an idea of what was out there, maybe I would have, just done things differently. But not that it went horribly as it is, but I just think to kind of give kids hope that, you can also make your way without the connections, without the, without the fancy, like without film school, without parents who are paying your way. You can still do it if you want to. So
that's really important too, because I know definitely, like, after it only took like a year of doing film to realize that, wow, if I would have just like known I could do it sooner, then I would have done it sooner. I didn't know it was that easy, not easy, but I didn't know like it was as accessible as it was. Like you really just need the parts, like, and you can just do it yourself. And I just like, man, but that wasn't like broken down to me before, so my only image of film is like movies, blockbuster, theaters. So I'm thinking like that's what film is, but it's also like commercials, it's music videos, it's short films, it's like recorded
your own project,
it's anything, like it's literally anything you want that involves a camera and like there's editing involved. So if it was demystified for me earlier, I would have just started earlier.
Exactly. I fully agree.
Same here with the union.
Right.
If I knew that this was an
option,
if I would have known what I know now, I would have chosen this path a very long time ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, let me officially start us, since it's 8:15, and although that I've been recording, so that's all, because you've already said wonderful things. But thank you so much for doing this. Welcome to Astoria Film Festival's Career Fair. And the reason we do this is because, we want people who don't necessarily, especially youth and emerging artists who don't have the connections and the background and the support, to help them figure out how they might take a path that might lead into this industry the way all of you have. So thank you for sharing with us. I'm Nina Fiori. I'm the founding director of Astoria Film Festival. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am light skin with dark hair and wearing pink glasses and a pink shirt and sitting in front of a bookshelf and a Astoria Film Festival logo banner. So if you guys want to go around and kind of introduce yourselves, that would be awesome. John, do you want to?
Yeah, my name is John Gray. I'm a writer, director, and sometimes producer, film and television, and really happy to be here.
Lovely. Blair?
Hi there, my name is Blair. My pronouns are they, them, and he, him. I am coming at you from Los Angeles, although my heart is in Astoria. And real quick, I'm sitting in front of my record collection and my turntables because they make me happy.
They look super cool.
Thank you. Who's next?
Ruthie?
I'm Ruth Fernandez. Hello, everyone. I'm a makeup artist. I belong to Local 788, but I'm also a freelancer groomer. And here, glad to
And
be
grooming,
here.
for those of you who don't know, is basically hair and makeup artist for men, right? So not so much
Yes.
makeup, but
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Makiba.
Hi, my name is Makiba. I'm 26. I'm a filmmaker from Brooklyn. My main, I guess, trades are producing, screenwriting, and editing. Although I enjoy pretty much all elements of film, I also enjoy DPing and sound recording and everything. So I just generally like it all. I'm in front of a background that is the pattern of the carpet from the Overlook Hotel in The Shining. My pronouns
Amazing.
my pronouns are she and her, and I am dark skinned with reddish hair and a blue shirt.
Thank you. Brian.
Hey guys, my name is Brian Petchers. I'm a director and editor, primarily shooting commercials and music videos, but all around filmmaker. I've done everything from sound to DPing to, having my hand in everything. And I was lucky enough to connect with Nina a few years ago at the Astoria Film Festival. So
My luck. It was totally my luck.
But yeah, happy to chat with everybody today.
Thank you so much. So I guess going back the other way, if you want to kind of just give a little, well, why don't we talk about, how you got into the profession? Like, what was the steps you made that got you to where you are today? Brian, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So growing up, I love movies. And I knew that I wanted to be close to production in some way. So I think my first year of college in the summer, I didn't study film. I studied history. I ended up being a production assistant on a independent film that was shooting in Connecticut near where I lived. And that was my first kind of exposure to the actual making of a film. And I was like immediately hooked. My task was, basically being a traffic cop and running errands and doing all these different kind of production assistant duties. But from that point on, I knew I wanted to be near a film set, near people making stuff. And from there, I slowly just started trying to get similar jobs, different production assistant work. But while I was doing that, I was also shooting my own work and shooting my own little short films. And I really, had a passion for music. So I started shooting music videos for local artists, and one thing leads to another. And I now have this kind of body of work, and people are reaching out to me to shoot for them and do work for them. So, it started out small and slowly kind of just snowballs. One thing leads to another. And as I'm getting deeper into shooting and directing, I'm realizing that this is something that I actually can pursue as a career. And, while I'm shooting and directing, I'm continuing to learn and continue to dive into cinema history and understand all the things that the great directors do. And it's kind of been I see this being a lifelong journey with learning. And, I'm trying to move from one project to the next and trying to continue to build. So
I love that. I definitely think it's a lifelong journey. You never stop learning and trying. Makiba?
Please repeat the question. I'm sorry.
Honey.
I forget.
The question was basically, how did you get into filmmaking?
Yes, I got into filmmaking my senior year of high school. I was in a media production class. I just took it as an elective originally, but I just learned there how to work with a DSLR, how to edit on Final Cut, how to just set up a light and sound. And I was like, you know what, this is really what I want to do. So I went to film school that fall, and I went to Brooklyn College, and
Brooklyn College.
Yes, Brooklyn College. I graduated in 2017, and my senior year of college, I got hired as an intern at the U.S. District Courts in City Hall. They were looking for somebody to make a documentary for them about the courts. I have been
And
there.
it's SDNY, right? Which is the
Yes, the
oldest
Southern
court in the
District Court in New
country.
York.
That-
Yes. So I have been there for 5 years. But last week I officially put my 2 weeks in because I'm
Oh,
gonna
no
work
way, you
myself
did?
now. Yes. So from there, that one class in high school all the way to now, I'm like going full time with my freelance production work that I do on the side. And I'm just gonna do that for however long, but
That's
probably a
awesome.
while. Yeah, and on the
Congratulations.
side, I make my own films as well because I always got stories to tell.
And you tell them beautifully.
Thank you.
Ruthie, how did you get in? How did you get into it?
So I went to Brooklyn College also
Yes.
many years ago. I wanted to study political science and go to law school. And one thing led to another. And I ended up assisting by chance on an independent film doing makeup, which I had never done. But I do love art. So like I had that background, and I just fell in love with the whole, just everything. It was like love at first sight. You know, I had never ever touched any set before. And it was just seeing, not even the actors, just the camera, the directors, like all of the moving pieces. And I decided that I wanted to do this. And I just started freelancing, assisting someone that mentored me for many years. You know, I did fashion, I did everything. And I don't regret it, you know?
That's the best
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And I think like Brian was saying, you kind of, that energy on the set, well, if you take to that, it's like you need it, you know? Like you
Yeah,
need
and
to
listen,
do
it's
it
long
more.
hours, as I'm sure you guys know. I'm wearing, I look like a bum. Like I
You
look,
really don't, but okay.
well, you know, but it's, you know, the 14, 15, 16 hours that you put in this, it pays off at the end.
Yes.
So,
Blair.
Okay, I always knew I wanted to be an actor. When I was a wee child, I would participate in community theater. I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee, and I kind of had to take a break at around 18 to kind of get my life together. And then I took community college classes. I participated in community theater and kind of got my stuff back together and wound up getting accepted to CalArts, which is an art school out here. And on graduating, was like, I really want to live in New York. So I moved to Astoria, luckily, and lived there for 12 years. And everything from independent theater to independent film. I apprenticed at the Barrow Group, and just like tried to stay involved in just any way I possibly could. Randomly got my SAG card on a random commercial that randomly came to me. And then after that, kind of worked my way up from background to stand-in to photo double, and then started doing stunts. Like 2016, I think it was my first stunt gig. And nowadays, I mostly work as an action actor, which is usually like a stunt performer with lines. And I also make my own work on the side. I'm also a music composer. Music's also been a big part of my life from the beginning. And it's been nice to kind of fuse the two together by making my own work. And that's it.
Wonderful. And John? So the question was kind of, how did you get started in the industry?
Yes, yeah, I guess I was very lucky in that I knew from a very, very young age that this is what I wanted to do. I grew up in kind of a working class area of Brooklyn, very much unlike the Brooklyn we know today.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
True.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Astoria
yeah.
was very working class when I was a kid too.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And I never quite fit in my neighborhood. I never felt, sort of part of. And I always had this kind of need to express myself in some form of storytelling. And that was not something that really anybody else I knew did, in Brooklyn at that time. And so, I used to put on plays when I was a kid. There was a loading dock behind our building, our apartment building. And if you squinted, you could sort of make a stage out of it. And I used to put on plays. My friends would come and throw things at me and that kind of thing. And but ultimately, I started to get frustrated when I was doing these plays, and I realized that I can't control where my audience, such as they were, could look. And I thought, if I had a camera, I could actually do that. I could tell the story with a camera. I could do the faces, and that's what kind of got me going on movies.
wow.
And, it's far too long a story to talk about really all the steps it took to get there. But all I'll say is that it was I think the ignorance of how hard it was what I was trying to do. My father was an iron worker. Him and my mother split up. She was like a single mom raising my brother and I. And there was just no connection whatsoever, to the film. But I just, the ignorance, I think, just kept me going. I just thought, yeah, I'm just going to do this. And ultimately, I was able to get a script of mine read by an agent, and that agent signed me. And this is years. I'm compressing, years and years of stuff.
Yes.
And ultimately, from that, I got chances to direct, and then I was sort of off and running. But it took a little while.
And how did you get to the point of having your own TV show? Like, how did that develop?
I had a fairly long career doing movies, movies for television and some
True.
feature
Yes.
film.
Yes.
And I did a lot of movies for CBS. And they actually came up to, they approached me with this idea because there was this real life woman who claimed to be able to come to your house and get rid of your ghosts. And
Fascinating.
a couple of CBS executives had her do this for them. And they were really impressed by it. And of course, their thought was like, wow, it's just a series. And so they called me and said, you have any interest in doing a series at all? We'd love you to meet this woman. And at that time, I loved doing movies. I didn't really want to do TV, but or TV series. But I did meet with her, and I was so taken with her because she was just not what I expected at all. She was just this kind of, salt of the earth, Midwestern, unpretentious woman.
Yeah.
Who just wasn't that impressed with herself, and I just saw an opportunity maybe to do a show that had elements of horror, which I love, and character-driven drama. And it just seemed to be one of those kind of things that it connected with the audience, and we ended up going for 5 years.
Yes. No, I remember all of them. So interestingly enough, little side note, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's a plethora of like ghost stories coming out now, like ghost TV, there's like ghost movies, there's ghost TikTok. Have you noticed this? Like there's all these like kind of the series Ghost, right? Then there's a new one coming out with Courtney Cox where she sees Mira Sorvino as a ghost. There's like if you're on TikTok, there's a ton of like there's ghost talk. So anyway, I think it's interesting. It has something to do with potentially what we've just been through. I wonder, like sociologically, psychologically, if it's kind of a way of dealing with a mass death event, if you will. But anyway, I thought it was fascinating. It made me think of the Ghost Whisperer because you were there first.
Well, we often wondered if Ghost Whisperer happened about 5 years after 9/11.
Interesting.
And we thought that's one of the reasons why people were sort of longing for the thought or the hope that there's more somehow.
Exactly. That's totally my thought too.
That we're seeing the same thing now with all this, so many preventable deaths that we've had from this.
Yes, preventable, and also like the manner, where family wasn't there and there wasn't a lot of resolution. There weren't funerals. So maybe that belief, it's very interesting. I kind of have been watching it as develop as a pattern and just find it fascinating. Blair, kind of Oh no, wait, I was gonna go the other way. No, we finished there. Sorry, my brain like skipping a beat.
It's okay.
If you can talk about a project that you worked on that you were most proud of, let's start with you, Blair.
Sure thing. Going directly off of this, there was an ongoing film festival called the Sparrow Film Project.
I remember, yes.
Yeah. It was
They unfortunately
through,
closed during the pandemic.
yeah. I was lucky enough to participate in the final one. The concept of it was you had 3 weeks to make a 3-minute film. And similar to John's naivete, I was like, how hard can this be? Like, I'm an actor, this will be fine. And made the very ambitious idea to create a one take, just one continuous shot
Oh no.
for 3 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, in my opinion, it's absolutely fantastic. I was very impressed with it. What I did was find a really, really good DP who also understood lighting, editing, coloring. Like he did
Yes,
everything post. An amazing, amazing artist named Dominic Cipavilli, who is also an Astorian. And I worked with Annie Sage Whitehurst, who also did the Sequestered Festival. Annie
Yep.
Sage is wonderful. And then I was lucky enough to bring in a director, DL, who was like the last thing I needed. I feel like when we make our own films, it's easy to be like, I can do the directing and the acting. Maybe somebody else can do it. I cannot do that. So I co-wrote it, and then I did all of the sound for it. So the composition, editing, voiceover, ADR, all of that stuff. And that was my first opportunity to do everything involving sound. And this film it was shot in 2018 and started, it won some awards at the Sparrow Film Project, and then I started submitting it. It was about a contagion outbreak
Oh
in
gosh.
Astoria. My character begins the scene wearing a mask, and it's like a widespread outbreak in Astoria with absolutely no clue about how 2020 was going to go. Unsurprisingly, a lot of film festivals rejected it. Just it maybe hit too close to home, and I still don't regret doing it. The timing was a little awkward, but I learned a lot from it, and I'm still really proud of it, of how it turned out.
Sounds amazing. I want to see it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, do you want to talk about your favorite project or something you're most proud of?
Sure. Yeah. This is from years ago, but I had reached a point in my career where my body of work consisted of a lot of hip hop videos and some other documentary work. And I felt like I really wanted to take it to the next level and have a piece of work that reflected kind of my voice and my artistic sensibility. Up until that point, I was shooting projects for other people and kind of doing it with what I thought that they wanted. And so this project, I ended up connecting with an artist who really inspired me. And together we shot some music video, but kind of with a short film sensibility. And it was a creative risk because I invested in it myself and really put everything that I was feeling and inspired by at the time into this work. And it was the first project that I felt was kind of a representation of me as an artist. And it was a good marker for me to take a step forward and have more conviction and confidence in the things that I thought were cool and trying to convey them, put them onto the screen. So that project, I think, had a lot of honesty and a lot of truth in it. It's called There's More to Life. And it ended up getting a lot of recognition and really became a good calling card for the work that I then wanted to do, and kind of helped me track down new jobs that fell more into line with like my stylistic instincts. So it was, I'm proud of it because I had this light bulb go off beforehand that occurred to me that I need to do something that is coming straight from my heart.
What was it about?
It was really, it's kind of like a coming of age story, but portrayed in a with a fashion kind of poetic sensibility. So it's not like a direct, this happened and this happened. It's really a montage of moments of youth, covering on a range of feelings, you know,
Oh, wow.
from sad to happy. And
Yeah.
it's not too heavy. It's not light either. Kind of a nostalgic quality. And it's something people resonate with because it didn't feel, it felt original, and it was.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't mind putting the link to it in the chat, that would be awesome. 'Cause
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to see it.
But I think that was special to me because it was a like I said, a very deliberate step forward in my
creativity,
yeah,
power,
and
if you will.
yeah, exactly, and confidence as a filmmaker and artist.
Yes. Ruthie?
I don't think I mean, I think I'm proud of everything that I've, you know, done.
First place, can I just interrupt to say, like, this crowd is like the most impressive crowd that I know, and you're all the most humble people I've ever encountered in my life. All of you. Like, it blows me away every time. So anyway, go ahead. Go ahead and tell me that you have nothing you're proud of after, because I just wanted to interject that before you said that.
I feel like I have a long way to go.
Because you're you.
Well, no. I think there's certain things that I want to accomplish still, that I haven't, but I'm sure with time it will come. But I think that a moment that for me brought a sense of pride. It's not a work that I did or a job that I did, but my parents were very much against me leaving college. They were very upset for a long time. And I remember working on a show, and one of the actors was a known actor, and my father happened to meet me. He was going to meet me for dinner. So he met me outside of where we were working, and he happened to meet the actor, and I introduced them, and that was I can see the pride in my dad's eyes, and like it just clicked.
Yeah,
in
like
his
he finally
head
got
that,
it.
Yeah, that
Yes.
I wasn't like just playing with colors and whatever idea he had in his head of being a makeup artist, it just clicked. So I will never forget that, and that was my proud moment.
Yeah,
I know,
no, I love that.
but that was,
I understand that. Yeah, it's very, I think, especially if you come from working class immigrant families and they just don't get the industry, and then you're kind of
no,
like,
they don't.
and they're like, wait, what are you doing? Like, why are you wasting your time with that? But there's that one, somebody says something or something happens where it just clicks for them, and it's like, oh.
that was like my moment of like, I felt like he was proud of me.
Yeah.
And it just, it made sense.
You also have an amazing portfolio of work, by the way.
Thank you. No, and I'm very proud I'm very proud of what I've done and who I've worked with. I've worked with some amazing people. I started 17 years ago, so it's not like I'm super proud of a lot of things that I've done, and I just I'm still going.
Yeah, no, upwards and onwards.
That's right.
Or the other way around.
Yeah.
Makiba.
The work that I'm most proud of is actually my current short film, The Big Chop. This is the one I've been working on like since forever. And this is the film that I am the most proud of. Out of everything that I've done, this is the film where I've really like stepped out of my comfort zone in every single way. Because all the films I made before, I did cling to a certain comfort zone, just in general, even though the films varied, whether it was my approach to how I produced it or the message or whatever, however you want to call it, I had a safe zone and a comfort level, and I liked it. But I really truly stepped out of my comfort zone across the board with this. It's been just one challenge after the next. I'm doing everything differently. So everything is new to me, and I'm just like failing along the way here and there. But
That's
when I
wonderful, though.
win, yeah, it just comes with it though, you know. And I've won more times than I've failed though. So, and all of my wins have really been like the ones I really needed. So I'm like very appreciative of it. And this is the film, like Brian said, this is the film or the project of mine where I really feel like my abilities as like a storyteller and as a producer and a writer, and just, I feel like this really reflects my aesthetic and my voice and like who I really want to be as a filmmaker. This is my first time really being able to actually do that. And it's like the thing that I'm most proud of and the most scared of at the same time. But this is definitely the film where I am truly like the proudest I've done. And I can't like drop a link to it, but I could drop a link to our teaser trailer because we're still filming this thing. But I can drop a link to the trailer for people who want to see that, definitely.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see it.
Thank
I remember reading the first draft of the first script.
Oh my God, I'm telling you, it's like not even the same film.
I know. I've been following.
Like the changes that the film has also gone through is like completely different. This is the first film where like the script I wrote is like not the script that I am filming, like in any way, shape, or form. Like it's not the same genre. Like it's not the same like plot. It's just not the same in any way. So
and to give background, basically Makiba had one script and was ready to go, and then literally the week COVID hit, so everything went into lockdown, and then while in lockdown she just gave it a big rethink, and it came out to be a very different film after lockdown.
Yeah, and just even that in itself, like I've never, on top of it being a challenge, it's like a film being made during a pandemic. So it offers just a whole different like learning curve in general. But, you know, I can't even like truly feel like victimized by it creatively, because that lockdown gave me like just the fact that I could not make the film allowed me to get the film into the place where it is today. So I can't even really be mad that that happened, because it really just led me exactly where I needed to be at the exact right time. And things really are, it's truly a struggle. Like, don't get me wrong, every day is like an immense emotional and like financial and mental struggle. But, you know, I have never at the same time been prouder. So it's fine. I'm fine with it.
Yes, many snaps.
Yes.
John, your proudest work? There's so many, but something.
Well, you know, it is. I mean, it's hard to choose because they're sort of like children in a way. You know, it's hard to pick a favorite. And so much of how I feel about some of the things I've done, you know, are sort of tied up in the emotion of what I experienced making them.
Absolutely.
The places I got to go and the people I got to meet and the world I got to immerse myself in. Whether the movies were good or bad, you know, like that's not really what I remember. What I remember is how great it was to make this movie. But if I had to pick something that I guess I feel some pride in, it's a little indie feature that my wife and I did, and it's a film. You know, it's a dark coming of age story set in 1975 Brooklyn, and I had written it, man, like in the late 90s, and I could not get it sold. No matter what I did, where I went, every studio, everybody passed on it, and people loved the script, and I actually got a lot of work because of the script.
Interesting.
No one would make
but they didn't want to do that script.
Right.
It's like, this is great. Do something else.
Exactly. I'd have meetings where they would say to me, John, this script is terrific. I laughed, I cried, literally. Someone's going to make this film. So not us, but someone is going to make this movie. So we had so many of those kinds of meetings. And
wow. Yeah.
This went unmade for 20 some odd years. And so cut to, we get to a point in filmmaking where now the technology has changed, and I had this show on the air, and there was some money coming in, and my wife Melissa Peltier is a brilliant producer.
Yes.
So
a star in her own right.
She is indeed. And so we started talking about the idea of, is it now, can we just maybe make this film ourselves? can we do it cheaply enough that we can afford to make it, and we can use all the experience that we've gained over these years and the connections. There were so many favors I could call in because I've given people work for 30 years.
Yes.
So I was like, yes, we'll do this for you. So we made a film called White Irish Drinkers, and it's set in Brooklyn. And we got Stephen Lang and Karen Allen and Peter
Wow.
Weir, and a very
Yes.
exciting young cast as well. Shot it in 17 days. And it premiered at the Toronto Film Festival, and we got a small distribution, a small release. So the film ultimately made no real noise in the world, but it was just great to finally have gotten that out of me.
Yes.
And people see it, they don't see it, but it's out there, and we made the best film we could make. And it's just nice not to have it rattling around my brain anymore.
I know that feeling. Absolutely. Like everyone, I think, has that story in their head that they, and you actually got it out, but to have that story you want to tell that you haven't gotten out yet. Right. So that's really encouraging that.
It was also fantastic for us, my wife and I, who've spent our whole careers basically playing Mother May I with studios and networks and fighting for casting and fighting for, trying to make things better. And here we didn't have to do any of that, because it was just us and it was our money, and we just made the film the way we wanted to make it, for better or worse. And that was just a great experience. It's very difficult to go back to the real world.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So we did actually touch on this a bit with some of you talked about your path, but many of our high school students who we work with, we've heard from them, that college, especially nowadays with college being so expensive and debt, and is it really going to lead anywhere? People wonder, especially if they're interested in film and media, do I have to go to college? Should I just start working in the industry? And, we've heard we had this discussion in the last panel as well. And there was some people who had kind of gone into the industry and then decided to go back to film school afterwards, right? Because they felt like that would be beneficial. So what are your thoughts about kind of people in high school now who might want to go start working versus go to college for this industry specifically? John, if you want to start that off.
It's I totally get the instinct or the urge, to skip college and get out there and start working. I didn't go to college. For me, it was more of just a cultural thing in my neighborhood. It wasn't, the goal was to get a high school diploma and get a job. Go out there and get a job.
Yeah.
And so I didn't go to college, but if I really missed the experience now. Looking back on it, I wish I could have had it. And if I could now take 4 years out of my life to do nothing but learn, I would jump on that. And so, my advice to people is always to go to college, and not to learn about film necessarily, but just to learn as much as you can about life and art and read and theater and history and all the things that make you a well-rounded person that are going to ultimately add to your artistry. But I think you miss something if you can't do it or skip it. My own feeling.
Makiba.
I definitely believe that you do not need to go to film school to get, a start in the film industry. And I also definitely believe that, going to film school has tremendous benefits. I personally did go. I went. For me, it felt necessary because, at that age, at 17, the age I was applying to colleges, all I knew is that I liked films and I wanted to make them. And I knew like literally the bare bones, fundamentals of it, but I knew nothing else. And I just wanted to know as much as possible. That's how I approach things that I'm invested in. I just want to learn everything about it, all at once. So for me, it was non-negotiable. I needed to go to film school. Luckily, I went to a great one. And it took literally one day there to realize that, wow, I really needed to come here because there's just so many things that you can't know until someone tells you. You just would never know the things that went into making a film if you didn't have somebody who knew about it telling you. Like literally just how to format a script. If it wasn't for film school, I don't know how long I would have had to like Google or search for a book or, to figure that out. But I learned it in like an hour there. So little things like that, I think it's very useful. Like if that's the type of way that you learn, if you like thrive in that sort of environment. Again, it all depends on the type of school you go to. Brooklyn College happened to have a lot of resources and a department filled with like very experienced professors who either actively still practice their craft and or just did it for decades, and now like all they want to do is just teach people how to do it themselves. I personally got my internship through film school. The head of the department, she would send out a blast email to all the students once a month, letting them know openings based on like the skills that require film and media. So I got that. And all of like my first like plugs and industry plugs, people who referred me to other people who needed to hire people of my skill set, they were all people I met in film school. So, you don't have to do it. But I do know that it probably would have taken me a little bit longer had I not done that. I don't know, if I just didn't have like a structured like path to like something, I don't know if it would have been as smooth as it has been. But I will say, whenever I don't know something or can't remember something, the first thing I do is I Google it, and like I go on YouTube, and luckily film is just everly like accessible. It just gets more and more accessible every year. So there are always people out there who just want to make videos teaching you how to make videos. And it's just, you really could do it anyway. I think the main thing is just be open to experiences of all kinds, and make sure that the network that you choose, make sure it's always quality over quantity. You really don't need a huge network. You just need a network of people that really, really trust and who really, really believe in you and just really, really want to help you. That's the key. But you could do it either way. You really could.
Cool. Thank you. Ruthie?
To piggyback on all of that, and with John too, I definitely agree. Being in this school is definitely important. I think you learn so much. I mean, I didn't go to school. For a makeup artist, obviously it's a little different. Although I ended up going to take a course, and I studied color theory and whatever. But in general, being in film and TV, if you don't know anything, I mean, you can assist, you can become an apprentice, and that's okay. I know so many people that have gone that route, but I think school helps, it gives you a little bit more structure. And so that when you do go and intern or become a PA, you're not completely lost. And even in the language, because we have our own language.
Yep.
So I think it definitely helps. And it just shows too, it shows department heads, it shows, people above you that you're serious and in this, and that you want to move forward and work in this industry. So that would be my advice.
Brian?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything that's been said. I think education is important. It doesn't necessarily have to be film related. Like I said, I studied history, but I've taken a lot of film classes, and those film classes have been really instrumental with just giving me, some of the building blocks for understanding the language of filmmaking. And, I took this class when I was 19 in the summer, and I had such a fun experience making movies with like the little group that I was in. It was a group of 4, and we each took turns as part of the class directing or working on the other person's project. And I still think about that class. We were running around the city, and it was just I had just so much fun doing it, but also learn to be in different situations, while you're shooting, depending on the location, the light, or communicating with the people you're working with. So there's just some core skills that the like structure of a class can help you develop. So I definitely would recommend, at the very least, taking a class or taking a couple classes, just to get a working, a solid baseline education.
Yep.
Within the craft.
Blair?
Yes to everything so far. I also want to bring up the concept that you don't have to go to a big art school directly out of high school. The way that things worked out for me, I decided to go the community college route first. And the community college out here, it was College of the Canyons. It had an amazing acting program, and also had a lot of equipment that was available. And like, for filmmaking, to be able to have access to that kind of equipment for free is so great, because to me, there's no better way to learn how to use equipment than to have some tutelage and also to have hands-on experience. And then by the time I went to CalArts, I was 23. I'd already figured out how to take care of myself, like how to eat and bathe and things. And then I was there for my BFA, and most of the other people in my class were like 18, 19 starting out, and were having to deal with a lot of shock of like living on their own that I had already figured out. So I feel like I got kind of the biggest bang of my buck. I'll also say I had to do a lot of self-advocacy to make sure that I was learning the things that I wanted to learn. And I kind of had this rosy idea that going to like a prestigious school, I could just sit back and learn. That is not the case, or at least it wasn't for me. I did learn a lot, but I definitely was like in the dean's office, in the head of acting's office, like going over to the School of Film and Video and putting my resume in mailboxes. And like, I think that concept of being very clear about what you want to learn is important. And then if you wind up with a little bit of time between high school and college, like PAing is so key. I think the acting equivalent for it is background acting, which is like thankless, long hours, blah, blah. But I learned like the difference between a second and a second, where crafty is very important. But like, I think it's important to stay educated too. Like as soon as I graduated, I was right back in class again, to understand that one person's point of view is never like dogma. Right. There are like 500 different ways to do something. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I think little interesting note, the whenever I'm teaching filmmaking workshops to like the younger set, like the 6 to 12-year-olds, they always are fascinating by the fact that crafty or craft services means food. And every time we do like a quiz after, I'm always like, craft is food, craft is food, craft is food. And then at the quiz, I'm like, so what was craft? And they're like, props. Like, no, it was food. So it totally, and then often I'll ask, okay, what was like the most interesting thing you learned in the class? And some will say that craft services means and I always just find that really adorable. So I thought I would share. But anyway, I digress as usual. If you could go back and talk to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give them about kind of finding work, finding jobs, finding your like life mission, if you will? John, do you want to start?
I don't know. I guess.
And you could also go back to another age. Like I picked 18 because high school, but whatever age you want to go back.
You're worried I can't remember that far back.
No.
No, I think
my point is like I'm still figuring my life out. So you can go back to any age, and I think it would be useful.
Hopefully you never stop figuring your life out.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think I would try to tell myself to be less fearful. I think that I held myself back in a lot of ways because I was afraid of success. I was afraid of being a fraud. I was afraid that people would find out I was a fraud, And so, there were a lot of things where I feel a lot of moments where I could have taken one road or the other, and I might have taken the more familiar, safer road because I was fearful. So that's, and I heard this great expression. I wish I could claim it. I don't know who came up with it, but it's whenever fear speaks, it's wrong.
Mm,
And I just wish I had known that. I just had known that at in my 20s. You know.
yes. That's beautiful. I love that. Makiba?
Telling myself, my 18-year-old self, something, I would just say, you
That
know,
was like what, yesterday?
I know it really wasn't that long ago. I vividly remember it's like turning 18, and I just thoroughly remember.
Oh, I do too, and it was long ago. So.
But even so, like, man, just that period, from 18 to 20 is like, I feel like I lived 2 lifetimes in terms of just the things that I've learned. Like,
It is a hard time. That is a very hard time.
It's really, really challenging. And luckily I do I agree with John. Like, I feel lucky known so early what I wanted, to just not shy about like going for it, in any way that I do really feel lucky about that. But if I could tell 18-year-old self anything, I would just tell them, trust how good you feel when you do this. Just trust that, and that is going to just work more than anything else, like could give you just like immediately, like just accept that this is going to be really, really hard, really going to be easy, but just know that it's always going to be worth it because of how you feel when you do it. So I would just tell myself, trust it. And, at some point, you're going to be able to do the things that you just think about right now. But you just got to stay with it and just trust yourself.
Awesome. Ruthie?
I have a list. This is something I think about often. So
You're just waiting for time travel to be figured out.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
The first is to buy a house in Astoria.
Yes.
If I had done that 30 years ago.
Exactly. I really, anyways. I would say I would tell myself that I don't know it all. I think at 18,
so true.
I had it figured out. I was going to do this, and this. And because I didn't accomplish certain things, I was very hard on myself. And I'm 42 now, and I still have a long journey, but life changes, man. It's not what we think it's going to be. And, but we still have to move on and work, and life goes on, and you have to go with that flow. And so at 18, I just thought I knew it all. And as I'm sure most 18-year-olds do.
I mean, I think you have to kind of have that naivete to like even just do stuff. Otherwise, we don't.
What was that?
I think that naivete like is why you do things, right? Like, or else you just be like, you know.
True, but I think sometimes we
but yeah,
we take it a little to another, like, yeah, we know it all, and at 18, nah, things could change, and it's okay if things change.
Yes.
So that would be,
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah, so I think we could take this in many directions, but just try to be specific to the craft. And I think maybe I tell myself this now too. So just there's a couple. One is to like study great work, great films, work that you think is inspiring, and look at it with a critical eye and understand what makes it special. I think there's often times where I'll watch things and I think they're great and it'll resonate with me, but it'll pass through. So looking at things and taking from them and seeing how I can apply it to my work is an important part of the process, and something that I don't do often enough, even though I watch a ton of movies, watch shows, to basically watch and engage more actively is a good way to help build my kind of tool set. And the other is to not assume anybody has seen something I've done, even if I've shared it with them. So not to be too shy shy about following up, but respectfully, it takes a lot of pushing to get your work in front of people. And I think earlier on, especially, I would just have this assumption that someone's seen it if I shared it with them or if it got some recognition. And I think it's okay to keep pushing.
Blair?
All right, I had to think a lot about this because I had a somewhat unusual experience. When I was 18, my father passed away. He had been sick for a long time. He had cancer for 4 years, and that kind of dominated my high school experience. And I was set to go to the University of Memphis. And when he died, I just reset everything. And I think I felt like I had missed the plot somehow by doing that, when in reality, I was taking care of myself. And I think the biggest thing I would reassure my 18-year-old self is that taking care of yourself is the number one way to make it as an artist. We are in an industry with long hours, a lot of thankless work, a lot of pressure to conform and to assimilate with everything, literally everything. And at the same time, we are all creatives and we're always pushing for what's new and what's unique and interesting. And I think that by nurturing ourselves and also piggybacking off of John to like really listen to that voice of hope and to accept that the voice of fear is someone else's voice, not ours, is really important.
So, yes. Ooh, that was wonderful. Yeah, no, I think especially like the keeping in mind that you're a creative, right? And that kind of developing your inner self is going to improve your art, right? So it's not like you're not slacking off by doing that. But yeah, beautiful. So I think if you're okay with opening it up for audience questions, we might do that now. Does anyone have any questions for our panel? First place, thank you so much for sharing. I'm just always blown away by your talent. This group is like I love you guys. That's all. Thank you so much for sharing and for being here. But questions from our audience for anyone? You could either unmute your mic and ask it or put it in the chat and I'll ask it, whatever you're more comfortable doing.
Hi, my name is Crystal. I don't really have a question. I just want to say thank you so much, Blair. Like what you just said really just kind of helped me because my last 2 years of college, I also went to Brooklyn College.
Yay.
And like the final, I was applying to internships and then my mom, she passed away. And so kind of like I was stuck trying to think how to continue on with film and everything. So what you just said really just helped me to just keep on going forward and to just reset myself and what to do. So thank you so much. That was like really helpful right now.
Big love to you, Crystal. I'm sending you all my love. I know it's really hard.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
know that you're not alone in what you're experiencing. And I'm glad you're taking care of yourself while you're resetting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, same. Much love to you. I lost both of my parents quite early. So I feel you. And you have to take time. I remember I had taken time off from work. I quit my job to take care of my dad. He wanted to pass at home. And I did that. And then I read an art. After he passed, I was reading an article. It's a long story, but I was back in Astoria with him, taking care of him. And then I went back to Boston where my fiance was at the time, now my husband. And I read an article in like the local paper. And it was about how people who take time off to care for their parents who are either ill or passing, when they go back, they basically ruin their jobs. you know, like they ruin their future was the sense of the article. And I was livid. And I wrote this, you know, I wrote this response into the paper, and I just blasted them. I was like, that is ridiculous. Like, who cares? Like, I wanted my father to have a dignified passing. And like, you know, that's the last year I'm ever going to see him. Like, how could you possibly focus on this? And like, then they published my thing, and then it became a whole thing. And I was like literally like in cocoon mode where I didn't get out of bed for like a few months. And then I had all these people like contacting me about this article. But anyway, point being, like, do whatever you need to do. If you need to scream at people who are saying silly things, do that. If you need to like hide in your bed for 3 months, do that. You will come out of it and you will pick up from there and go do your thing, right? Like, but those events knock the wind out of you. They knock you into like, I don't know. Don't be hard on yourself if they knock the wind out of you, because that's just how they do it.
I want to piggyback off that too, because I think that's so important. Like care, it really is, like, that's where it all just Crystal, do not into this thing that, like, you know, the best part comes from like being in pain and like this really traumatic, overwhelming. Yes, great things come out of that place artistically, but great things come out of being happy too. Like, great work when you're happy. And like, you are a good person to meet with when you're happy, you're taken care of. So if working through like the pain and creating while in pain works for you, then do that. If you feel like you want to take a break from creating until you feel good again, then too. And either way, you're going to get some good stuff out of it.
Yes.
Absolutely. I love you too, Blair. I got him. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize it was a direct message. Love to you too. Any other questions?
Hi, I've got one.
Hello. Steph is Makiva's partner in life and work and is an amazing DP, just FYI.
Cool. Thank you for the intro. So I actually had a question, and this is something I actually was talking about with some people I was working with today. I'm similar in Makiva's boat. I'm actually looking to go full freelance soon. And my biggest concern now is trying to find the balance between having work and, you know, maintaining like a steady flow of income, but also, you know, still being able to enjoy your time and, you know, collect yourself and not be in, you know, constant overdrive to the point where you burn yourself out. So if anyone has any like advice or tips or things you wish you knew sooner about like entering, you know, that type of work, I would love to hear it.
Ruthie, go.
Listen, I will say that take time, work, but have a life, because as you know, we work long hours. We work 6 days a week. Sometimes it could be 7. And if something happens to us because we're not taking care of our health, guess what? You're going to be replaced. Yeah, people are going to be sad. You know, they'll shed some tears. Maybe, right? If you liked, right? And then life goes on. You're replaced because that show, that commercial, that whatever, it has to be done, right? This is money. And I've unfortunately, I've known people that have passed away. I mean, my thing now is I have my time. You know, I work, and if I'm done on a show, I'm gonna take my time. You know, I'll take a week off, 2 weeks off, a month off, if I can, you know. But I take time to rest. I take time to go to your doctor, take time to see your family. Have a balance, because that's truly gonna make you whole and happier. That's my advice. That would be my advice as a freelancer, because, you know, I know we need that money, and, you know, one job leads to another job, but if you don't find that balance, you're going to burn out.
Well
That
said.
would be-
Anyone else
Thank
wanna
you, Ruthie.
throw into
You're
that?
welcome.
Blair?
Yeah, I can't speak for specifically freelancing, but if you wind up on a, you know, W-2 like production, even especially if it's something small, one word, unemployment afterwards. I think most of us, you know, during 2020 figured out unemployment. I was working on a CBS set, and I remember like the 2 weeks of Christmas time, you know, people often take 2 weeks off from production. And one of the PAs was like, oh yeah, you just file for unemployment. And then, you know, you've got that grace week and then you get paid for a week. And I was like, really? And that changed everything. So like, if you wind up, and I've also learned that it's those big productions, you work for Warner Brothers, you know, NBC, CBS, those are the jobs that are really going to wring you dry. And just file for unemployment when you're done with them. Give yourself a couple of weeks, give yourself a month, like Ruthie said, until you're really like back in it. Because I feel like the people that I know who have left the industry left because they bled themselves dry, you
Yes.
know? And like
Yeah.
unemployment is there for us. It's there for us. Take advantage of it.
Thank you.
Good point. Anyone else? Freelance advice?
Yeah, I think one thought I have on that is that all the jobs that you do don't have to be glamorous, and they don't have to be things that are going to lead to necessarily another job. You know, as a DP, I think there's a lot of opportunity to take work that might be more, you know, might make sense financially if it's a couple days of work, but it might not be something that you show anybody, and it might be easier on you physically and mentally and emotionally to take some of those jobs sometimes. So
Yeah,
There-
don't fall into like, oh, I'm a sellout because I need to pay my bills, like mortality,
Right.
right?
yeah, exactly. And you don't have to be an artist on every project, you know, you be professional, but you have a specific skill set that can lend itself to all kinds of different work. And yeah, so you can put that to use.
On that note, I used to work, one of my first jobs out of college was I worked at, well, actually my internship during college, I worked at Merrill Lynch in the communications department. And one of my things I did during the internship was PA on a film set, because they had a whole film studio in Merrill Lynch where they created corporate films for the executives. And they often didn't even get seen by anybody but like the executive group. And they spent millions on it. They hired like professional writers, professional DPs, professional directors. So don't ignore corporate communications. It's not glamorous, but the paychecks are very good and they can fund your, you know, passion projects. So, you know, piggybacking off what Brian just said, please, you know, don't feel like a sellout. If you didn't come for money, you've got to pay your bills. So, you know,
That's
don't
the
just,
truth.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, so that, yeah, they paid, they were crazy. Oh my gosh. I worked on one. Oh my gosh. What was it? It was a parody of Apocalypse Now. Called Apocalypse Now, because the guy, the executive they were making it for was named Paul. And he had been a Vietnam vet, so there was relevance. But anyway, but he was the SVP of communications, and an amazing person who I love, by the way. But Apocalypse Now was this, you know, corporate finance parody of Apocalypse Now, and they took out, like they went all out. They went all out. So, do you ever see, what was it?
Yeah.
Bathtubs Over Broadway? Have you seen that documentary?
Mm,
Yes, no, anyone?
No.
Oh, it's similar. So basically it's about corporate Broadway shows. Like it's a similar concept, except for Broadway shows where corporations hired like directors, actors, you know, whole crews to do private corporate shows for their like executives or their like top salespeople. It was, and they'd spend millions on this stuff. Yeah, Bathtubs Over Broadway. It's
Oh.
there. Thank you for putting it at the in the chat box. It was a Netflix documentary. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but that's where I saw it. And I did the same thing as an intern at Merrill. It was, but for film. So.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for all the responses and, advice, guys.
Thank you for being you. It's still on Netflix. Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. I mean, I'd been in it and it kind of brought back a lot of memories, but then I also still learned a lot that I didn't realize at the time. So, any other questions before we wrap up? Any last words anyone wants to say before we go? Thank you all so much.
Good luck to everyone. No, just
yes, please. Good luck. Keep in touch.
Yes.
I just think you're all amazing, and I'm honored to know you, truly. So thank you for helping out the festival. Thank you for helping out our youth and all of us. It's an honor to speak with you all. Thank you for doing this.
Likewise.
Great to meet you all, and great to see you again, Akiva.
Yes.
Thank you, Nina.
Thank
for making
you.
this happen.
Maybe I'll get to work with you guys one day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we need to do a project. Group
So
project.
on it.
Why not? Why not?
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
That'd be glorious.